What's going on, y'all? It's JD Piquel. Today on the Hard Count, I'm going to talk about why the sky is not yet falling for Notre Dame. Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's Show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a daily basis. Nick Brake does the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. We are available on podcast. You like it on Apple? We're on Apple. You're more of a Spotify person? We're on Spotify. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find the Hard Count. Our Week 4 preview is out now. Would encourage you to check that out. Give us a 5-star review. Let us know your thoughts as to what games you're watching this coming weekend. One team that has a really big game this coming weekend is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, going to North Carolina to play the Tar Heels. Big game in Chapel Hill for Marcus Freeman and company. But I want to sort of take a step back and talk about Notre Dame as a whole, because everybody in the national media seems to have sold Notre Dame up the river. I mean, you hear all these different people with blue checks next to their names saying, time to hit the panic button in South Bend. Hey, this whole Marcus Freeman experiment, it's not working. Brian Kelly's gone. That was a bad move by Notre Dame. They got to find a way to get him back. There's all this talk about how the sky is falling. And like I said in the intro, I'm here to tell you why the sky is not falling at Notre Dame, or at least not yet. And the first of which is, there is no loss of confidence in-house at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman presents himself really well at a press conference. We're not here to take too much stock in a press conference, but he said something that I thought was really insightful when it came to him addressing the media for this week's game. He said, we're still confident because we know how talented we are. We're going to keep getting better. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that was the gist of it. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I don't think anybody is doubting how talented this Notre Dame team is. It's why they were ranked so high in the preseason. It's why we had so much excitement around them in the preseason. It's why a lot of people had super high expectations, because they got a lot of dudes. They bring a ton of guys back on defense, got an All-American tight end in Michael Mayer. But here's the thing. If you have talent, you have building blocks. Notre Dame's not a finished product. Ohio State, not a finished product just yet. I think teams are always evolving, but all that's to say, when they played them the first game of the year, Notre Dame did that, that's to say, that first game, Ohio State was further along developed as a program than Notre Dame is. Year one under Marcus Freeman, they're going to get better. At the very least, if you don't think they're going to get better, they have the opportunity to get better because of the talent level in that locker room. Now, talent doesn't win games. Hear me very clearly. Talent doesn't allow you to do anything on the field. What I will say, though, as you develop that talent, as this talent does get better, like Marcus Freeman said point blank, that's why there's still some cause for optimism and confidence. You got the ingredients, you got to put it together. One thing that we're also not considering when it comes to the whole Notre Dame situation is they have had really no experience at the quarterback position thus far this year. Tyler Buchner obviously got hurt. He's not playing anymore. It's Drew Pyne's job. It's Drew Pyne's team, his offense essentially. But Tyler Buchner made his first start of his career against Ohio State. And then just last week, you had Drew Pyne make his first start of his career against Cal. So you have two quarterbacks that have never actually been the guy just yet in their career, trying to get this ship headed in the right direction. So you're telling me you got a first-year head coach and two first-time starting quarterbacks that have tried to lead the charge for Notre Dame thus far. And we're already making definitive statements about who we believe this Notre Dame team is. We're already defining their identity. I don't understand the logic behind that. So far, what I see from Notre Dame is essentially what you would have seen from them if Brian Kelly was still the head coach. Now, the argument could be made, well, hey, if Brian Kelly's the head coach, we don't lose to Marshall. I'm not going to really argue that. I think that's a fair point. What I would call your attention back to, though, is the game a season ago where Notre Dame beat a Toledo team by 3 points. I think a loss to Marshall and a loss to Toledo are fairly comparable. Now, obviously, they found a way to get it done against Toledo, but that might kind of be the story this year for this Notre Dame team. You're going to have to find ways to win close games because you are so inexperienced at some really key spots. But to make a label for this team 3 games in when you look really solid against Ohio State, No moral victory, but they put up a really strong showing. Tough loss against Marshall. That's really bad. But then you find a way to get a hard-fought win against a Cal team at home with your quarterback making the first start of his career. Like, so far, you are 1-2. It's not a great look, but as a whole, I don't think you can be too upset with what you have in-house right now that's so new. Because it's a big deal to have a quarterback be new. It's a big deal to have a head coach be new. Those things are not going to stay new. The more games you get under your belt, in theory, the better those pieces should get. All right? So let's all calm down just a little bit. The North Carolina game is going to tell us a lot. I don't think there's anyone arguing that. And the North Carolina game should give us a good fork in the road moment for this Notre Dame team. They will either prove, hey, it's going to be a 6-6 year, find a way to win 6 games, get to a bowl game. That's probably as far as we're going to go at Notre Dame this year. That's our hope. Or you find a way to beat a really good offensive team at their house, and you kind of keep your 8-win, 9-win hope alive. This will be a really telling game because it will prove a couple of things. One, Notre Dame can go on the road. It's a big piece. The second piece is Notre Dame will have to prove that they can manipulate a game. Very similar to what we saw against Ohio State. They're going to have to find a way to slow the game down and really just game plan their way out of this. They're not going to be a team that can just line up, play 11 on 11, roll the ball out there and say, all right, our guys versus your guys. Game plans equal, everything else equal. We like our guys better than your guys. I don't think that's really the approach that Notre Dame is going to take in this game. I don't think as a Notre Dame fan, that's the approach you want your team to take in this game. Tyler Horka from blueandgold.com had a lot of really insightful things to say, and he circled this game saying this will be that moment where we find out a lot about Notre Dame. We had a lot of really good conversations about this program and what they're going to look like going forward, and it all stems from what we learn from them against North Carolina. So I'm excited to see what happens there. But to zoom it out even further, we're 3 games in to Marcus Freeman's first year as the head coach of Notre Dame. Whatever happens in 2022 should not be a reflection of the Marcus Freeman era. It should not be a forecast for what he's going to be as the head coach. And I can assure you, it is not a forecast for what he's going to be as a head coach. Because remember, none of these guys were recruited by Marcus Freeman as the head coach. Maybe he had a hand in getting them on board, but Marcus Freeman still is using Brian Kelly's players, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying this is not a full reflection of who he's going to bring into the program. From what I've seen, I know there's been sort of some rockiness as of late, but Marcus Freeman can recruit. I mean, for this past offseason, my guy could do no wrong. Remember that? So let's let this thing cook a little bit longer before we say, hey, the Marcus Freeman era is a failure. 3 games, 2 brand new quarterbacks, and a first-year head coach. We're better than that. Let's not be victim to this moment. I think that's the main thing I want to say, so I'll say it one more time. Don't be victim to the moment and the whole Marshall propaganda and all the things that you're hearing from people with blue checks next to their name that call themselves the media wanting to sell Notre Dame down the river. We're better than that. So that's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JDPakel to stay up with every single thing we're doing here. Going to try and incorporate both those mediums going forward to get y'all some exclusive content. So make sure you follow me there. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.